What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my next college football team preview, and I will be doing the Texas Longhorns out of the Big 12, team that went 5-7 last year, struggled against some of the more mediocre teams in the conference. Did get big wins against Baylor and OU, which if you followed last year, you know that both of those were kind of an anomaly. Baylor, they won because they had no quarterback. I mean, it was Lynx Hawthorne playing the entire game, and Texas's defense held strong and won a close game. Their defense hung pretty strong all year, though. I think that was one of the more underrated parts of Texas. Then Texas just played their best game, and I think OU played their worst. So that's pretty much how that happened. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into their 2016 team preview. Go ahead and start with the first of the three key players, and I've got Shane Buechele, the presumed starting quarterback for Texas. Tyrone Swoops and Gerard Hurd obviously still in the quarterback competition. They might start Gerard Hurd for a game, just see how he does, and then maybe give Buechele the opportunity after. Maybe if Gerard Hurd doesn't do so well or something like that. Either way, I think Buechele will have the longest leash and will be the starting quarterback at some point during the year, and I think he will take hold of the job. Something's got to be done about the Texas passing game. It has not been good the last couple of years. Really, since Case McCoy was starting quarterback in 2013, it's been a struggle for Texas to find a good quarterback. Buechele is supposed to be the guy that, brings them to the next level. 4-star quarterback, coming in as a true freshman. It's a lot of weight on his shoulders, but they got to find some answer at quarterback. So move on to my second key player, and I've got the wide receiver John Burt. One of the most experienced wide receivers for this Texas offense, which is weird because he's only a sophomore. Maybe the best wide receiver that they have too. Him, Colin Johnson, and Armani Foreman will be the starters. At the wide receiver spot, Caleb Blewett also at tight end, who is one of the better tight ends in the Big 12. They had a really, really hard time last year finding a primary wide receiver. Probably their best one, Dejae Johnson, was still not a very reliable target. John Burt, if he can step up and be that guy, then that's the other end of what will be needed to have a successful passing game in Texas. If they cannot find a number one wide receiver, then I think the passing game is going to continue to struggle. So move on to my third key player, and I've got Malik Jefferson, who is already the most proven player out of my three key players. I think he's got to be the heart and soul of this defense. He kind of was last year. This is a defense that does not return a whole lot in the way of experience in the linebacking core or in the secondary. He'll be starting alongside Anthony Wheeler at the linebacking spot, and both of them coming in as sophomores. Malik Jefferson was just an outstanding freshman last year. This defensive line, I have a lot of faith in. Paul Boyette will be leading it. Poona Ford, and then Brecken Hager and Bryce Cottrell I've also got a lot of faith in. This was a good defense last year, and I still think that, if they want to be successful, Malik Jefferson's going to have to be a successful leader once again. So get into my two X factors. First one is what I've been mentioning earlier, and that is a successful passing game. Shane Buechele is going to have to step up. They're going to have a wide receiver step up. Even at the running back spot, they're going to have solid running backs to stretch out the defense, or to get the defense to play in the box a little bit more and be able to stretch out the defense with a good passing game. I don't know who's starting between Deontay Foreman and Chris Warren. Chris Warren had a massive game last year. I believe it was Texas Tech. I can't remember. There was one game last year he had about 240 yards rushing, a couple touchdowns, really his breakout game as a freshman. Most things point to Deontay Foreman starting right now, though. Anyway, they're going to have to find a passing game if they want to be successful. There's no doubt about that. That offense last year was very tough to watch. Did not move the ball well at all. Decent on the ground last year for sure. Gerard Hurd looked like he could be the spark plug for that offense for a few games, and then his season kind of tailed off. Very athletic guy. I don't think he's going to be starting this year, though. Again, there's a lot on Buechele's shoulders to be able to make this offense go this year. So move on to my second X factor, and that's just for the defense to hold strong. not to have a pun or anything, but I do still have a lot of faith in this defense. They lose a very important player along the defensive line in Hassan Ridgeway, but I don't think that's going to hurt them too much. I have a lot of faith in Holton Hill to lead that secondary. Dylan Haynes will be another important player in the secondary. Malik Jefferson, Anthony Wheeler, Paul Boyette, Brecken Hager, Poona Ford. I've already mentioned that all of these names, I believe, are all talented players and should be able to lead this defense in the right direction in 2016. I don't think that the defense is going to be the biggest problem on this team. So, moving to my trap game for Texas, and I think it's going to be at Cal. A game that I honestly presume they will be favorites in. It really depends on how they show out their first couple games of the season. That'll be the main telling for who's the favorite against Cal and Texas. Obviously, very, very depressing game for Texas fans last year. Gerard Hurd tying the game, and then their special teams screwing up the extra point and not being able to go to overtime, losing 45-44. Now, this is going to be a very different Cal team that they're going to be playing this year. They're going to meet a quarterback they've already played against in Davis Webb, the Texas Tech transfer, so that should actually be a very interesting matchup in that regard. Anyway, move on to my biggest game for Texas, and I think it's going to be Texas Tech. Obviously, you want to say OU or Baylor or Oklahoma State or one of those teams, maybe even Notre Dame or Kansas State. But I don't think Texas is at that point yet of that being their biggest game. Texas Tech has been a team that's a little bit above mediocre in recent years. They've been a bowl team at least every year. And Texas goes to Texas Tech this year, a game they lost last year. And if they want to compete to be in the upper half of the Big 12, especially make a bowl game, they're going to have to be able to beat Texas Tech. It's hard to slow down that offense. Pat Mahomes comes back for another year. It could be an incredibly interesting game if Texas does have a good offense this year and still a decent defense. I've said this a million times. If you could combine Texas Tech's offense and Texas's defense, you'd put together one hell of a team between two teams that are pretty mediocre. Texas Tech probably being better than Texas, presumably coming into the year. But anyway, moving to my record prediction for Texas, and I know Texas fans aren't going to like this, but I have them going 4-8. It's hard to see improvement from them looking up and down their schedule. I mean, there's a few teams that you really don't know what to expect from this year, Baylor being one of them, Kansas State and West Virginia being two more. I think those could be two tightly contested games for Texas. But again, I can't expect too much out of a Texas team that only won 5 games last year. Probably would only won 4 if Baylor had a starting quarterback in that game. The at Oklahoma State game might have an asterisk beside it because they haven't lost to Oklahoma State in Stillwater since, I believe, 2009. Might have been earlier than that. Even when Texas has been pretty mediocre in the last couple of years, they've managed to beat Oklahoma State in 2014 and 2012. But I do think their only wins are going to be UTEP, Cal, Iowa State, and Kansas. I think the rest of the games are going to be extremely tough. They could pull off an upset. I don't doubt that they do. I'd say best case scenario for Texas, they win 6 games. Then again, they could be a sleeper. A lot of people have them that way, but that's my best case scenario. I think that they're a 4-6 win team this year. They might make a bowl game. That'd be a big thing, but I think Charlie Strong's days are numbered, and I don't know if he'll be the Texas coach after this season's over. So that pretty much does it. I will be coming back later tomorrow, probably with the Texas Tech preview, so talking about another Big 12 team. But that's pretty much it. See ya.